The familiar scent sometimes associated with older individuals can often be significantly diminished, perhaps even by as much as 99%, simply by paying closer attention to cleaning 7 specific, often hidden, areas of the body. Welcome to our channel, focused on senior health tips. David, why do you always smell kind of funny? That one utterly innocent question, posed by his cherished granddaughter, struck David Turner, now 70 years old, with the force of a lightning bolt. David had always taken immense pride in keeping himself impeccably tidy. He showered diligently every single day and always wore fresh, clean clothes. Yet, somehow, his precious little angel still seemed to recoil slightly when sitting close to him. The spontaneous climbing into his lap had ceased, and when David asked for a hug, the little girl would often wrinkle his nose and lean away tentatively. That night, curled up beneath his blankets, David cried silently, his heart weighed down by a heavy mixture of confusion and profound shame. Here is a sensitive truth that few people openly discuss. That distinct old person smell we sometimes notice around seniors is very rarely caused by poor hygiene or neglect. Instead, it's largely rooted in biology, the natural ways the body changes over time, how skin chemistry subtly shifts with age, and, perhaps most significantly, how certain small, often concealed areas of the body frequently get missed during standard daily cleaning routines. The genuinely good news is that once you become aware of where these often forgotten spots are located and learn how to care for them properly, addressing the issue becomes surprisingly straightforward. In this video, we are going to reveal 7 commonly overlooked body zones that can contribute to persistent odors in older adults. More importantly, we'll explain how just a few minor adjustments to your regular hygiene routine can potentially eliminate up to 99% of this concern, often without requiring expensive specialty products or harsh, abrasive scrubbing. You will gain a clearer understanding of why some seniors might carry a noticeable scent even if they bathe meticulously every day, and how a little increased awareness can dramatically shift not only how you feel about yourself, but also how others perceive and feel around you. Please stay with us until the very end, because the final area we reveal might just be the one crucial spot you are currently missing, and changing that simple habit could potentially transform your confidence almost overnight. This discussion isn't intended to evoke shame. It's fundamentally about empowerment. It's about knowing your body better, honoring its changes, and providing yourself with the comfort, dignity, and respect you absolutely deserve at every single age. If you have ever felt awkward or self-conscious about how you smell, perhaps worried about close physical contact, or quietly wondered if others have noticed a change, then this video might prove to be one of the most uplifting, practical, and ultimately freeing ones you'll watch all year. If this topic resonates with you, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to Old Age Wisdom for more helpful content. Let's dive in. Area number 1. Between the toes and on the soles of the feet, the quiet trouble spot that's remarkably easy to miss. Eleanor, an 82-year-old retired teacher residing in Savannah, Georgia, always took meticulous pride in her personal appearance. Her dresses were consistently well-pressed, her hair carefully pinned and perfectly in place. And her feet, she firmly believed, were just as clean and cared for as the rest of her. That belief held firm until one particularly warm summer afternoon when her young granddaughter wrapped her arms affectionately around her legs, then suddenly pulled back, wrinkling her little nose. "Grandma, your feet smell weird," the child whispered with innocent honesty. A hush seemed to fall over the room, but for Eleanor, her heart plummeted. Later that night, sitting thoughtfully on the edge of her bed, she slipped off her socks and took a much closer look and a closer sniff. She was genuinely stunned. There it was, undeniably, that faint, slightly sour odor, and it was emanating from her own feet. Here's the essential truth. Foot odor in older adults is very seldom about being dirty or neglectful. It's primarily about biology and about specific areas we often unintentionally skip during our cleaning routine without even realizing it. The skin located between your toes and covering the soles of your feet contains an astonishing density of sweat glands, estimated at more than 250,000 per foot, which is more concentrated than almost any other part of your body. That equates to 250,000 tiny moisture-producing machines working throughout the day. Combine this natural moisture production with factors like enclosed shoes, potentially tight socks restricting air circulation, and natural age-related changes in skin texture and healing, and you inadvertently create the perfect environment, a warm, dark, moist haven for odor-causing bacteria and even fungal infections to quietly thrive beneath your notice. The initial signs often start quite subtly, perhaps socks that retain a slight odor even after laundering, skin that begins to peel or crack slightly between the toes, toenails that appear yellowish or thickened, or maybe just a mild, intermittent itch. Many individuals simply attribute these minor changes to the inevitable process of just getting older. However, in reality, these are gentle warning flags your body is waving, softly asking for a little more focused attention. A 2021 study published by the American Geriatrics Institute revealed a concerning statistic. Nearly 64% of seniors over the age of 65 were found to have some form of undiagnosed foot fungus. This wasn't attributed to a lack of cleanliness overall, but rather because they had likely never been specifically taught or reminded to clean this particular area with thoroughness and care. But here is the genuinely good news. Addressing this issue is typically one of the easiest problems to fix effectively. You generally don't require expensive prescription treatments or complicated, time-consuming routines, just a commitment to consistency and mindful care. Start by making it a point to use warm water and a gentle soap every day when you wash your feet. Crucially, take an extra moment to actually get the washcloth or your fingers between each toe, gently scrubbing away any accumulated buildup. After rinsing thoroughly, pat the entire foot area completely dry, paying particular attention to drying those hidden spaces between the toes. Even the tiniest amount of residual moisture left behind can unfortunately become an ideal breeding ground for odor-causing bacteria. If you tend to perspire more heavily or reside in a particularly humid climate, consider using a non-medicated, absorbent foot powder or opting for moisture-wicking socks. Additionally, try to avoid wearing the same pair of shoes 2 days consecutively. Rotating your footwear allows each pair adequate time to fully dry out and breathe. I once heard a wise geriatrician remark, "Odor doesn't define your worth, but how you treat yourself reflects the value you place on your own life." I couldn't agree more profoundly, because when Eleanor incorporated this simple, mindful change into her daily routine, when she began washing and, importantly, thoroughly drying her feet with focused care, the positive results were almost immediate. The noticeable smell vanished completely, but something else significant happened too. She stopped feeling the need to hide her feet. She started confidently wearing sandals again. And at the next family gathering, when her beloved granddaughter curled up beside her and instinctively reached for her lap, Eleanor pulled her in close without a moment's hesitation, her face radiating a smile filled with quiet, restored confidence. So, allow me to gently ask you, when was the last time you genuinely took a dedicated moment to care for your feet, not merely out of rote habit, but out of genuine love and respect for yourself? Have you ever perhaps caught an unexpected whiff after taking off your shoes at the end of the day and had the fleeting thought, "Oh no, is that smell coming from me?" Please know, if you have, you are far from alone, and importantly, you are not stuck with it. If this particular story resonated with you, please hit that like button to let us know you're still engaged with this important topic. And if you've ever felt unsure or concerned about foot odor, perhaps leave a comment below affirming, "I choose fresh, confident feet every day." Consider sharing this video with a friend or loved one who might appreciate this gentle reminder. And please, don't forget to subscribe to Old Age Wisdom for more heartwarming stories, practical advice, and empowering insights on staying healthy, independent, and proud, no matter your age. Because you absolutely deserve to move through life feeling fresh, comfortable, and thoroughly respected. And sometimes, achieving that feeling truly starts from the ground up. Area 2. Behind the ears, the overlooked patch that might be louder than you realize. There exists a small, quiet, unassuming space on your body, barely the size of 2 fingers placed side by side, that most people likely never give a second thought to during their daily routines. It's an area rarely seen directly in the mirror, seldom consciously felt throughout the day, and almost never explicitly mentioned in discussions about personal hygiene. And yet, This inconspicuous spot might just be one of the most significant silent contributors to that faint, sometimes musty or slightly oily odor that some people associate with the natural process of getting older. Let me share the story of Walter. At 79, he was well known around his Florida retirement community for his consistently sharp outfits and his signature subtle cologne. Always clean-shaven, always appearing polished and put together. However, one afternoon during a lively family gathering, his 11-year-old grandson leaned in to give him a hug, wrinkled his nose discernibly, and then blurted out with childhood candor, "Grandpa smells kind of weird." Everyone present chuckled politely, perhaps a bit awkwardly, and the moment quickly passed. But for Walter, it didn't pass. That innocent comment sat heavily with him for weeks afterward. He showered meticulously every single day, used a pleasantly scented soap, and never once skipped his established grooming routine. So, what could possibly be going on? As it turned out, the underlying issue was something so remarkably simple it felt almost embarrassing to have overlooked it. He wasn't consistently or thoroughly washing the area directly behind his ears, and he was far from alone in this oversight. According to a report published in the reputable journal JAMA Dermatology, the skin located directly behind the ears is often identified as one of the potentially dirtiest areas of the body, particularly for older adults. Why does this specific area pose such a challenge? Primarily because it's exceptionally easy to miss during routine washing, yet it simultaneously contains a relatively high concentration of sebaceous glands, the glands responsible for producing the skin's natural oils, sebum. These natural oils inevitably mix with accumulated dead skin cells, perspiration, and environmental residues, like dust or pollen, especially for individuals who regularly wear eyeglasses or hearing aids, which can trap debris in that area. When this mixture is left unclean day after day, it can gradually create a distinct, often musty or greasy scent that can slowly permeate into the nearby hairline, the collar of clothing, and even transfer onto pillowcases. This isn't solely about odor, however. That persistent buildup of oil and debris behind the ears can also contribute to clogged pores, leading to itching, minor skin irritation, and potentially even mild skin infections over time if left unaddressed. And here's the truly tricky aspect. Many people experiencing this issue have absolutely no idea it's happening until someone very close to them either points it out directly, which can be awkward for both parties, or, perhaps worse, silently maintains a slight physical distance without explanation. But here is the genuinely uplifting part. It typically only requires about 30 seconds of focused attention each day to completely change this situation. When you are washing your face at the sink or taking a shower, simply make a conscious effort to take that extra moment to gently but thoroughly clean behind each ear. Use warm water and a small amount of mild, non-drying cleanser. Pay particular attention to the creases where the back of the ear meets the scalp, as this is where buildup tends to accumulate most, especially if you wear glasses or spend significant time outdoors. After rinsing well, ensure you pat the area completely dry. If you regularly use facial lotion or apply cologne, be sure to apply it after cleaning this area, never applying product over existing buildup. The difference this small habit makes is often not only noticeable in terms of scent, but also feels remarkably refreshing. Are you still with me? Because incorporating this tiny, seemingly insignificant habit could potentially be the one simple change that transforms how people experience being physically close to you. Walter decided to try this simple adjustment for just 1 week. And what were the results? Not only did the puzzling odd scent completely vanish, but he also noticed that his grandson hugged him tightly, without any hesitation or flinching. Even his regular barber commented during his next haircut, "Something smells different today, Walter," he remarked, "cleaner, somehow fresher." There is something truly empowering about reclaiming attention to these small details as we age. Society often subtly encourages us to accept decline, to settle for merely good enough. But you absolutely do not have to. Every small act of mindful self-care represents a quiet assertion of dignity. You are never too old to glow a little brighter, and sometimes that inner and outer glow truly begins in the smallest, quietest, most overlooked places. Area 3, the scalp and hairline, the forgotten frontier of freshness. Most individuals believe they fundamentally know how to wash their hair properly, apply shampoo, lather, rinse, maybe add a bit of conditioner if the bottle happens to be conveniently nearby. Seems straightforward enough, right? But here is a crucial truth that many folks don't fully realize. Having clean-looking hair doesn't always equate to having a truly clean scalp. And the distinction between the two can often be the determining factor in whether you consistently smell fresh and feel confident, or if you quietly find yourself wondering if something is slightly off about your scent, but can't quite pinpoint the source. Allow me to introduce you to Howard, a 68-year-old retiree living in Bend, Oregon. Howard took good care of himself, maintained a regular haircut schedule, and diligently followed the same daily showering routine he'd adhered to since his 20s. One summer, after taking up brisk walking in the afternoons as a new form of exercise, he began noticing something peculiar. Even shortly after showering, he would sometimes catch a faint, slightly sour scent lingering around his head, particularly noticeable when he wore his baseball cap or when he hugged someone close. Initially, he attributed it to the summer heat, then perhaps considered changing his shampoo. Finally, during a routine haircut, his perceptive barber offered some candid feedback. "Howard," he said kindly, "I think you're doing a great job shampooing your hair strands, but you're not really washing your scalp itself." That single observation changed everything for Howard. According to Dr. Emma Harris, a geriatric dermatologist with over 3 decades of experience working specifically with seniors, as we age, the skin on our scalp naturally becomes somewhat less efficient at shedding dead skin cells. Simultaneously, it can become more prone to retaining natural oils, sebum. If you don't actively and intentionally cleanse the scalp surface itself, focusing beyond just the hair shafts, it effectively becomes a trap for bacteria, sweat buildup, dead skin cells, and environmental debris like dust or pollen. And this accumulated debris doesn't just sit there passively. It builds up over time, can begin to ferment slightly due to bacterial action, and eventually starts to produce a noticeable odor, even if your hair itself appears perfectly clean and well-groomed. Here's another eye-opening fact supported by research. Studies published in the International Journal of Trichology, the study of hair and scalp, show that residual buildup from shampoos, conditioners, and various styling products, like gels, mousses, or hairsprays, when not rinsed away thoroughly, can readily mix with the scalp's natural sebum and contribute significantly to creating unpleasant odors over time. This phenomenon is often particularly pronounced around the hairline, temples, and the nape of the neck, areas where product buildup tends to accumulate most readily. So, how can you discern if your scalp might be contributing to an underlying odor issue? You might notice your hair seems to feel greasy or oily more quickly than it used to, perhaps just hours after washing. You may experience mild itching, see occasional flaking, which isn't always dandruff, but can be buildup, or notice a slightly sticky sensation around the roots even after shampooing. Some individuals become aware of a faint, greasy or musty smell that seems to intensify when wearing hats, headscarves, or wigs. And here's the particularly tricky aspect. Due to olfactory adaptation, getting used to your own scent, you might not readily smell it yourself. However, those who come into close proximity, like a hairdresser, a loved one during a hug, or even a healthcare provider during an examination, often do notice it. The solution involves starting to treat your scalp like the living, breathing skin it actually is, not merely as an inert surface that holds your hair. When shampooing, consciously use the pads of your fingers, never your fingernails, which can scratch and irritate, to gently but thoroughly massage your entire scalp in small, circular motions. Make sure to focus on all areas, especially behind the ears, across the crown, and down to the base of your neck. Allow the shampoo to sit on the scalp for perhaps a minute before rinsing. This gives the surfactants time to effectively break down oils and product residue. And then, rinse meticulously. Any leftover conditioner or styling product residue inadvertently left on the scalp can ironically lead to more buildup and odor. If you regularly use styling products, consider making it a habit to clarify your scalp perhaps once a week. You can use a gentle exfoliating scalp scrub specifically designed for this purpose, or employ a clarifying shampoo formulated for mature or sensitive skin. For those with thinning hair or known skin sensitivities, always look for scalp care products labeled fragrance-free and pH balanced to minimize the potential for irritation. Are you still with me on this journey? Because implementing this simple shift in perspective, consciously treating your scalp like the skin it is, can dramatically change not just how you smell, but fundamentally how comfortable and confident you feel within your own body. When Howard adopted this more thorough scalp cleansing approach, something surprising and positive occurred. He didn't just feel cleaner. He reported feeling mentally sharper, more alert, and generally more at ease. It was as if that small, focused act of care performed on the top of his head had a ripple effect, positively influencing his overall confidence. He started walking taller, began wearing his favorite baseball cap again without hesitation, and best of all, he no longer gave a second thought to leaning in close for a hug. Because let's be honest, true confidence isn't always derived from grand achievements. Sometimes, it stems from the quiet assurance of knowing that even the details, like ensuring your head smells as fresh as it looks, are well taken care of. So, permit me to ask you directly, when was the last time you truly washed your scalp, not just rinsed your hair? Have you ever felt like your regular shampoo routine wasn't quite cutting it, but couldn't precisely figure out why? If this section provided you with a fresh perspective or a valuable insight, please hit that like button to let us know you're still finding this helpful. And if you've ever felt uncertain about potential scalp odor, consider leaving a comment below affirming, "From my head to my heart, I choose freshness." Don't forget to share this video with someone you know who regularly wears hats, uses hair products, or simply desires to feel thoroughly clean and confident again. It's all about demonstrating care, deeply and completely, for every part of ourselves. If these tips resonate, subscribing to Old Age Wisdom ensures you receive more practical advice for aging well. Area 4. Under the breasts and within skin folds. The warm, hidden spaces that truly deserve more dedicated care. This particular topic might feel a little personal, perhaps even slightly uncomfortable to discuss openly, but please trust me when I say it's one of the most crucial areas to address for overall comfort and hygiene, especially as we age. As the years gracefully advance, our bodies naturally undergo changes. Skin often becomes softer and may lose some of its elasticity. Gravity exerts its inevitable pull, and consequently, skin folds can develop or become more pronounced in various areas. While none of these changes are inherently shameful, they are simply part of the natural human experience. They do create a situation we don't talk about nearly often enough: the formation of moisture traps. These are specific places on the body where heat tends to build up, where perspiration lingers due to lack of air circulation, where skin surfaces rub against each other, and yes, where odor-causing bacteria and yeast can easily begin to thrive. Consider the experience of Patricia, 73, residing in Tallahassee, Florida. Patricia always presented herself with elegance, often adorned with pearls, favoring linen dresses, and leaving a subtle scent of lavender in her wake. However, during one particularly sticky, humid summer, she began noticing something persistent that she couldn't quite shake: a faint, somewhat sour smell that seemed to emerge by evening, even after her diligent morning showers, despite wearing clean clothes and applying deodorant faithfully. The odor consistently returned, causing her considerable distress. She tried switching laundry detergents, experimented with different perfumes, and even replaced all her bras, but nothing seemed to resolve the issue. It wasn't until a kind and perceptive nurse at her local wellness clinic asked a single, gentle question during a routine checkup. "Patricia, do you make sure to thoroughly dry the area under your breasts after you shower?" Patricia paused, genuinely taken aback. She hadn't specifically thought about it in that way before. She realized then that she wasn't truly washing or, more importantly, drying the skin folds beneath her breasts or along her waistline with focused attention. She had simply been letting the shower water run over those areas, assuming that was sufficient. Patricia's experience is far from unique. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, skin folds, commonly found under the breasts, around the abdomen, especially if carrying extra weight, under the buttocks, or between the inner thighs, are particularly prone to developing a condition called intertrigo. Intertrigo is a common inflammatory condition caused by the combination of trapped heat, moisture, and friction between skin surfaces. When these areas are left uncleaned and persistently damp, they become fertile breeding grounds for bacteria, yeast, like Candida, and fungi. These microorganisms readily break down sweat and skin cells, producing strong, often unpleasant odors. Furthermore, this environment can lead to visible rashes, significant irritation, chafing, and potentially even painful skin infections if not properly managed. Many older adults suffer from this condition in silence, feeling too embarrassed to mention it to their doctor or loved ones, sometimes mistakenly attributing the smell solely to general body odor or simply resigning themselves to it as an unavoidable consequence of aging. But here is the crucial truth. It's typically not about age itself. It's fundamentally about ensuring adequate airflow and maintaining mindful hygiene practices in these specific areas. So what practical steps can you take? Reassuringly, you usually don't need harsh soaps or prescription medical creams unless an infection is present. Consistent, gentle hygiene is often the key. Every day, during your shower or bath, take a soft washcloth with a small amount of mild, unscented soap and gently cleanse the skin under each breast, along your waistline folds, and within any other areas where skin tends to touch skin. Afterward, the drying step is paramount. Dry these areas completely and thoroughly. Don't rush this part. Use a clean, soft towel and gently pat. Avoid rubbing vigorously, as friction can worsen irritation. These areas until they are fully dry. If you live in a particularly humid climate or are prone to sweating, consider placing soft, absorbent cotton pads or a thin, breathable cotton liner under the breasts during the day to help absorb excess moisture. Dr. Eleanor Grant, a board-certified geriatrician, offers this insightful advice. Think of skin folds like the hidden corners of your home, easy to overlook during routine cleaning, but essential to keep clean and dry for overall health and comfort. When they are properly cared for, you often feel lighter, fresher, and generally more in control. Did this particular area surprise you? You're certainly not alone. Most people don't openly discuss hygiene in these specific areas, yet addressing them might be the exact missing piece standing between you and achieving full body comfort and confidence. Since incorporating this focused care into her daily routine, Patricia reported not only that the odor disappeared, but more significantly, she simply felt better. Her skin felt calmer, her clothes seemed fresher longer, and her evenings became more comfortable and relaxed. But the most profound change? She stopped worrying constantly about how she might smell, and as a result, she started hugging her loved ones longer and more freely. Because you absolutely deserve to feel comfortable and confident in your own skin, in every single part of your skin. So, let me ask you, have you ever noticed a persistent odor that seems to return regardless of your efforts? Could it possibly be originating from one of these quiet, hidden areas we've discussed? If this section sparked an aha moment for you, please let us know by hitting the like button on this video. And if you're feeling ready to give these often overlooked spaces the mindful love and meticulous care they truly deserve, perhaps drop a comment below stating, "I choose comfort, confidence, and care." Share this video with someone who might need to hear this gentle message, especially those who lovingly care for aging parents or relatives. And please, don't forget to subscribe to Old Age Wisdom for more valuable insights, relatable stories, and practical wisdom designed to help you live stronger, fresher, and more confidently, one positive habit at a time. You've lived a rich, full life, and your skin, every single inch of it, deserves to be treated with kindness, dignity, and consistent daily care. Area 5. The underarms, where perspiration meets personal confidence. Let's address something quite personal but undeniably real: your underarms. For many, if not most of us, this is the one area of the body we consciously try to keep smelling fresh every single day. We diligently apply deodorant or antiperspirant. We shower or bathe regularly, perhaps even add a splash of cologne or perfume for good measure. But what happens when, despite all these consistent efforts, a noticeable odor seems to persist? Or when you remove your shirt at the end of the day and notice those familiar, sometimes yellowish stains on the fabric near the armpits, those silent indicators that your perspiration might be having more of an impact than you previously thought. Patricia, a different Patricia residing in Denver, Colorado, now 72, faced this exact frustrating problem. She described herself as clean, active, and she showered daily without fail. Yet, almost every afternoon, she would become aware of an odor, sharp, somewhat musky, and stubbornly persistent. She experimented by switching deodorants multiple times, even purchasing expensive body sprays, but nothing seemed to truly eliminate the underlying issue. It wasn't until her daughter, who works as a nurse, gently suggested she try using a natural exfoliant, perhaps a simple baking soda paste scrub, that Patricia discovered something fundamentally important. While her underarms were being washed daily, the accumulated dead skin cells weren't being effectively removed. According to reputable sources like the Mayo Clinic, one of the primary causes of persistent underarm odor, particularly prevalent in older adults, is the buildup of dead skin cells in that area. As we age, the natural process of skin cell turnover tends to slow down somewhat. The skin doesn't shed its outermost layer quite as efficiently as it did in younger years, and this means more cellular debris can remain on the surface. When perspiration mixes with these accumulated dead skin cells and the natural bacteria that normally reside on our skin, which thrive in warm, moist environments, it creates odors that can cling stubbornly, even shortly after bathing. Do you think your daily shower is sufficient? It might be, until you take a closer look at the complex biological processes actually occurring beneath the surface. The armpits are home to a high concentration of apocrine sweat glands. These glands are generally larger and more active in producing a thicker, protein-rich type of sweat compared to the eccrine glands found elsewhere on the body. Bacteria present on the skin surface absolutely love to feed on the proteins and lipids found in this apocrine sweat. When this sweat is allowed to sit in place, especially when trapped under tight clothing or in areas with poor air circulation, the bacteria begin to break it down. It's during this bacterial breakdown process that odoriferous compounds are produced. So, the odor doesn't arise simply because you are dirty, but rather because your skin's natural cycle of shedding, sweating, and bacterial interaction might be slightly out of rhythm or exacerbated by buildup. What practical steps can you take? First, consider incorporating gentle exfoliation into your underarm care routine. You don't need anything harsh or abrasive. Using a soft washcloth with warm water and perhaps a tiny bit of baking soda made into a paste, or employing a natural exfoliating cleanser specifically designed for sensitive skin, can make a world of difference. Aim to do this perhaps 2 to 3 times per week to help gently remove the dead skin cell buildup and potentially unclog pores. Remember, the goal isn't to scrub hard, which can cause irritation, but rather to be consistent with gentle removal. Next, you might want to consider switching to a fragrance-free, aluminum-free deodorant, especially if you have sensitive skin. Look for products containing natural odor-neutralizing ingredients like tea tree oil, witch hazel, or magnesium, which can help manage odor effectively without potentially irritating aging skin. If you tend to sweat heavily or live in a consistently warm climate, consciously choosing to wear loose-fitting clothing made from breathable natural fabrics like cotton or linen can significantly help your underarms stay drier and allow for better air circulation throughout the day. Dr. Lynn Marcus, a dermatologist specializing in senior skin health, wisely shares this perspective. Your underarms reflect more than just hygiene. They often reflect how gently and appropriately you're treating your skin. And when you care for them properly, you often notice a bigger change than just the absence of smell. It can be a subtle shift in how comfortably and confidently you move through the world. This certainly proved true for Patricia from Denver. After just a few weeks of incorporating gentle exfoliation and switching to a more natural deodorant routine, she noticed her shirts stopped developing those telltale yellow stains, and the persistent odor faded away. But most importantly, she reported feeling significantly less self-conscious during hugs, at doctor's appointments, or in any close conversation. She expressed that she finally felt genuinely fresh, not just superficially clean. So now, I pose these questions to you. Have you found a deodorant formulation that truly works effectively for your body today, recognizing that needs can change over time, rather than just sticking with the same product that worked 30 years ago? When was the last time you considered gently exfoliating your underarms, not with the intent to scrub aggressively, but simply to provide better care? If this section prompted you to think differently about underarm care, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment below with an affirmation like, "I choose fresh confidence every day." And if you know someone, perhaps a partner, a sibling, a friend, or even a caregiver, who might benefit from this particular insight, please consider sharing this video with them. Area 6. the belly button, potentially the smallest place with the biggest surprise impact. It rests right there at the center of your body, a tiny little hollow, indentation, or perhaps protrusion that most of us rarely, if ever, consciously think about in terms of hygiene. It doesn't typically ache, it doesn't sweat profusely like your underarms, nor does it usually itch like your scalp might occasionally. And yet, somewhat counterintuitively, your belly button, or navel, might just be one of the most frequently overlooked sources contributing to persistent, low-level body odor, especially as we get older. Let's revisit Charles, the 74-year-old former school principal from Cincinnati, Ohio. Charles presented as sharp, meticulously well-groomed, and known for being a stickler for routine and order. He showered daily without fail, always wore clean, pressed clothes, and kept his home environment immaculate. However, lately, something subtle had been bothering him, a faint, slightly sour or musty smell that seemed to inexplicably follow him throughout the day, despite his best efforts. He diligently washed his underarms, changed his socks daily, even brushed his teeth 3 times a day, yet the elusive scent lingered. It was his wife who finally, one morning, asked him gently and without judgment, "Charles, honey, when's the last time you actually cleaned inside your belly button?" The question stopped him cold. He honestly couldn't recall. It hadn't happened in years, maybe even decades. It simply wasn't something he had ever been explicitly told or taught to do as part of his regular hygiene. Do you perhaps think you are too clean or meticulous for this particular issue to apply to you? You might be genuinely surprised. Your belly button, regardless of whether it's in any navel cavity or an outie, protruding navel, inherently creates a warm, dark, and slightly moist little environment, essentially a small cave. And just like any relatively closed-off space, when left largely undisturbed, it naturally tends to gather things: perspiration, shed skin flakes, microscopic dust particles, lint from clothing, and even residual soap scum that might not get rinsed out properly during showering. According to researchers from North Carolina State University, who conducted a fascinating study on the topic, the average human belly button can harbor an astonishing diversity of bacteria, potentially over 2,300 different species. Many of these bacteria thrive particularly well in warm, damp environments, where they readily break down the accumulated organic debris, like sweat and skin cells, and, as a byproduct of their metabolic processes, produce various volatile compounds that result in odor. And here's the crucial aspect. Due to olfactory fatigue, our tendency to become accustomed to our own constant smells, you might not even notice this subtle odor yourself. It often builds very gradually, almost imperceptibly, and frequently gets masked by clothing layers. However, other people, especially those who sit very close to you, embrace you in a hug, or perhaps assist you with dressing, may indeed notice it immediately. So, how can you determine if your belly button might be contributing to an unwanted odor? Here are a few potential signs to be aware of. A persistent faint sour, musty, or cheesy smell that seems to linger despite otherwise good daily hygiene. Observing a yellowish, brownish, or dark buildup accumulating inside the navel. Experiencing mild itching or irritation within or around the belly button, particularly on warm or humid days. Or noticing a slightly sticky or waxy residue when you gently clean the area. The fix for this common oversight couldn't be simpler or quicker. When you bathe or shower, just take an extra few seconds to consciously and gently clean your belly button. Use a soft washcloth, warm water, and perhaps just a drop of mild soap. For deeper navels, innies, you might find it helpful to use a cotton swab dampened slightly with warm water or an alcohol-free toner to gently wipe the inner surfaces. It's crucial not to scrub aggressively or poke forcefully, as the skin inside the navel can be sensitive. This isn't about being aggressive, it's simply about being thorough. After cleaning, ensure you dry the area completely to prevent residual moisture buildup, which could encourage bacterial growth. Dr. Sandra Bloom, an internal medicine specialist based in Chicago, explains it concisely. Belly button hygiene is very often ignored in routine care, yet it's such a simple way to prevent potential odor and even minor skin infections. I always remind my older patients, if you're taking good care of your whole body, please don't forget the very center. Charles took this advice to heart. The first time he gently cleaned his navel after years of neglect, he admitted he was shocked by the amount of accumulated material that came out, a mixture of lint, dead skin, and what he could only describe as a dark, paste-like substance. But after just a few days of incorporating this simple, quick habit into his daily routine, something truly incredible happened. The persistent, puzzling smell completely vanished. And perhaps more significantly, he expressed feeling like he had reclaimed a small piece of himself, a part he hadn't even consciously realized he'd been neglecting. Because sometimes, tending to the seemingly small, overlooked things has a way of making you feel more complete and cared for overall. So, here's your moment for honest self-reflection. When was the last time you really cleaned your belly button? Not just quickly rinsed it in the shower, but gave it a moment of focused attention? If you're like most people, it's quite possibly been longer than you might care to readily admit. If this particular section taught you something new or prompted a realization, please tap that like button to let us know. And if you're ready to give this tiny but important space the attention it deserves, consider leaving a comment below affirming, "I care for my whole self," right down to the center. And please, think about sharing this video with someone you care about. You never know who might appreciate this gentle, practical reminder. Don't forget to subscribe to Old Age Wisdom for more honest, practical health tips delivered with warmth, respect, and perhaps even a dash of relatable humor. Because aging gracefully doesn't mean neglecting the details. It means honoring them, one small, mindful habit at a time. Area 7. The groin and inner thighs, the quiet zone that can speak volumes about comfort. We don't often engage in open conversations about this particular part of the body. It's inherently private, intimate, and can even feel a little awkward to mention directly. But the straightforward truth is, when it comes to sources of body odor, the groin and inner thigh area might represent one of the most common, and sometimes most stubborn, origins of lingering smells, especially in older adults. And perhaps the most challenging aspect is that most people experiencing issues in this area don't even realize it's happening, or they feel too embarrassed to address it, until it begins to significantly affect their physical comfort, their freedom of movement, and ultimately, their self-confidence. Let's consider the story of Leonard. He's 81, a retired firefighter residing in Sacramento, California. Leonard embodies toughness, pride, and remains remarkably active for his age. He religiously takes his morning walks, showers every single day, and still makes the effort to drive himself to the gym twice a week. However, for several months, something had been subtly bothering him. He noticed that particularly in the afternoons, he would sometimes catch a distinct musky, almost sour scent seemingly rising from his lower body. He tried changing his brand of underwear, switched soaps multiple times, even resorted to spraying cologne more liberally, but nothing seemed to truly help eliminate the persistent odor. He even confessed that he started skipping his gym sessions occasionally, worried that someone nearby might notice the smell. It wasn't until his primary care physician, after ruling out any underlying infections, gently inquired specifically about his hygiene routine, focusing particularly on the groin and inner thigh region, that Leonard had a realization. He recognized he'd been treating this sensitive area essentially like an afterthought during his showers. He'd wash it quickly, perhaps somewhat half-heartedly, then towel off without giving it much additional thought or ensuring thorough dryness. But here's what Leonard learned, and what's crucial for all of us to understand. This specific area requires more than just a cursory rinse. It demands genuine, mindful care. The groin region is densely packed with apocrine sweat glands, the very same type predominantly found in your underarms, but often even more active in this area. Furthermore, it's inherently a high-friction zone, especially where the inner thighs naturally rub against each other during activities like walking. Add to this equation factors like potentially tight-fitting underwear, clothing made from synthetic fabrics that don't breathe well, and extended periods of sitting, which traps heat and moisture. And you unfortunately create a perfect recipe for trapped sweat, subsequent skin irritation, and yes, the development of noticeable odor. Do you think this might not apply to you? If you've ever sat for hours wearing warm clothing, or perhaps haven't always been meticulous about drying off completely down there after bathing, you might want to continue listening closely. According to insights from the Cleveland Clinic's Department of Geriatrics, one of the most common hygiene mistakes observed in older adults involves incomplete cleaning and perhaps even more frequently, inadequate drying of the groin area. This becomes particularly relevant as skin naturally becomes looser and potentially more sensitive with age, creating more potential folds or creases where moisture can hide. Moisture that lingers persistently in these skin folds or tight creases not only provides an ideal environment for odor-causing bacteria and yeast to flourish, but it can also lead directly to conditions like intertrigo, that painful inflammatory rash, various fungal infections like jock itch, and potentially even contribute to urinary tract issues or other skin problems if left unmanaged over time. Here are effective steps you can take to protect this delicate area and restore both comfort and confidence. During your daily shower or bath, gently wash the entire groin area and inner thighs using warm water and a mild, preferably unscented, soap. Pay specific attention to cleaning within the creases where your thighs meet your pelvis. After thoroughly rinsing, pat the area completely dry using a clean, soft towel. Emphasize patting rather than rubbing, especially if the skin feels sensitive or irritated, as friction can exacerbate problems. If you are particularly prone to sweating or live in a consistently warm, humid climate, consider applying a talc-free, fragrance-free moisture-absorbing powder to the area after drying. Or make a conscious choice to wear breathable cotton underwear, which helps reduce dampness throughout the day. Try to avoid regularly wearing synthetic fabrics or clothing with tight waistbands that tend to trap heat and significantly restrict airflow to this region. And always remember, effective hygiene in sensitive areas isn't about scrubbing harder or using harsh chemicals. It's primarily about paying closer, more mindful attention to gentle cleansing and thorough drying. Dr. Nina Patel, a senior care physician based in San Diego, encapsulates it perfectly. The groin area may be private, but it plays a very public role in how comfortably you move, how confident you feel, and even subtly how others respond to you. When it's properly cleaned and cared for, your whole body often feels more at ease. This is exactly what Leonard discovered. Just 2 weeks after implementing these simple, mindful changes into his daily routine, he noted not only that the bothersome odor was completely gone, but perhaps even more importantly, he felt significantly more confident returning to the gym, more relaxed during family visits, and generally just more comfortable in his own skin. He even started wearing lighter-colored pants again without his previous worry. So, allow me to gently prompt you. When was the last time you consciously gave this important, albeit private, part of your body the dedicated time and meticulous care it truly deserves? Have you ever experienced discomfort down there, and perhaps just brushed it off or hoped it would resolve on its own? If this section opened your eyes to something important or offered a new perspective, please hit that like button to let us know you're still with us. And if you're feeling ready to commit to taking better care of your groin and inner thighs, consider leaving a comment below stating, "I choose to care for every part of me, no matter how private." Share this video thoughtfully with someone who might need this gentle, practical reminder, especially caregivers or loved ones who provide support to aging adults. Final summary and call to action. So now here we are. We've journeyed together across 7 quiet, often neglected corners of the body, places that so frequently go unnoticed, even sometimes by those individuals who care deeply about maintaining cleanliness and good health. From the easily overlooked area behind the ears to the sensitive skin beneath the breasts, from the soles of your hardworking feet to the surface of your scalp, we've uncovered simple truths, highlighted practical daily habits, and shared powerful reminders that feeling fresh and confident isn't exclusively reserved for the young. It's fundamentally about cultivating mindfulness and consistent care at any age. And if there is one single, overarching message I sincerely hope you carry with you after watching this video, it is this: your chronological age absolutely does not diminish your inherent right to feel good, comfortable, and confident within your own body. Your skin, your personal scent, your physical comfort, they all still profoundly matter, not just for the perceptions of the people around you, but most importantly, for you, for your own sense of well-being and dignity. You have likely spent decades diligently showing up for others, for family, for work, for community. Now, it is absolutely time to consciously show up for yourself, not with feelings of shame or guilt about natural bodily changes, but with deliberate, small, loving choices each day that gently whisper to your inner self, I still deserve to feel good. I deserve to feel whole. I deserve to feel like me. And please, don't let anyone, especially that critical inner voice we sometimes possess, convince you otherwise. So today, I warmly invite you to choose just one habit, one small area of focus from our discussion. Perhaps it's committing to gently cleaning behind your ears daily. Maybe it's ensuring you thoroughly dry between your toes after every shower. Whatever small step resonates with you, begin there. Do it not out of fear or obligation, but out of genuine respect and appreciation for the incredible, resilient person you continue to be. If this video made you pause, reflect, perhaps even smile with recognition, please tap that like button. It truly lets us know that these sensitive but important conversations matter to our community. If you're feeling ready to embrace taking even better care of yourself, or if you simply want to remind others that they are not alone in experiencing these changes, please leave a comment below. Perhaps something simple like, "I choose to care for my body fully and kindly." And if someone you love might benefit from this gentle nudge or practical information, please consider sending this video their way. Let's work together to normalize open conversations about self-care at every single age. Don't forget to subscribe to Old Age Wisdom, ring the notification bell, and stay connected with our supportive community. Because aging isn't the end of freshness, confidence, or dignity. Rather, it marks the beginning of a potentially wiser, bolder, and uniquely beautiful chapter. And we are truly honored to be here to walk alongside you every step of the way. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for choosing to invest this time in yourself. And until our next video, please stay clean, stay proud, and stay golden.